want to know what it's like from your perspective, because you have a background so much in TV and your production, producing. What is it like to be a podcast host, like from your perspective?
What's nice about being a podcast host, because again, my background is in TV reporting, anchoring, live entertainment for sporting events. So I've kind of done various formats of hosting and that.
All of it, yeah.
With podcasting, there seems to be a more relaxation to it compared to having to be on and give the news and you know. And sometimes even in hosting shows, there's a little bit on TV, there's a little more of a formality. But in podcasting, it's more just having that conversation.
Totally.
Right? I always tell guests, this is just like we're having coffee and cocktails. We're just two friends chatting it up, you know, very relaxed. And I think that's why podcasts tend to resonate a lot, especially in the interview format style, resonate with listeners because it's like you're in the dining room or the living room. Like you're in that space with the people and you're just enjoying the conversation.
Oh, I love that.
And that's something I love because I love learning about people. I get educated by the guests that we have on, right? And so, yeah, that's the best thing to me about podcasting and what makes it different from everything else I've done in hosting.
So good. I love that, like the perspective of a conversation. I think I want to take that with me more, you know, just to really like it. It's just a relaxed
what this is at the end of the day, right? Like, sure, we have cameras on around us and people are going to be listening. But at the end of the day, it's you and me. It's like we're talking about whatever subject we're talking about, right? And I think that's the beauty of it.
I love it. Will you tell us how you came across Bridezilla? Like how that was like, it was almost like an inherited, really exciting.
Very exciting.
Podcast,
And a little intimidating because it's big shoes to fill, right?
For sure.
So for those not familiar, Bridezilla is the OG wedding planning podcast. It started in 2014 with Alicia, who's based out of Australia. There wasn't really a lot of podcasts or many at all in the wedding space. And so she really helped catapult that. And she also came with a no-nonsense, no bullshit way of doing it because it wasn't B2B. It's B2C and it's her people, right?
She's talking to the
brides. She wasn't a wedding pro, but she'd been through having a wedding. And like a lot of people that now have wedding podcasts and work in the space, it started off with them blogging about their own experience, right? And so her being so unfiltered and honest, I think is what truly had resonated with listeners and made it the #1 wedding podcast. She ended it during COVID in 2020, which is around the same time I started my first one, Weddings Unveiled with Leah.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that was for a couple years. And then last year, 2024, Evergreen decided to bring it back from the dead. Bridezilla had been dormant for 4 years and decided to give it new life. And with my background, it was like a perfect match. And Alicia still has a part with the show. She's been on a handful of times. She's going to be on again coming up. And so it's nice because she had, you know, these couples before they were planning their wedding that are now married, you know, or they're like her and I and divorced and in new relationships. So, now we have new couples. There's, you know, people are getting married all the time. And so, and the wedding industry changes all the time. So a lot of her advice back in the day is evergreen, pun intended. There's still some things that aren't relevant as much anymore. Trends change constantly. It's no different than pop culture and entertainment and everything else, media, right? So it's nice to get fresh takes and help couples and what's new and changing in the industry.
It's so good. Yeah. And with the name, like Bridezilla, like it really encompasses that, like, you know, you don't need to be that Zilla. Like you just chill. You can have a very calm, relaxed approach, which I did my best in my wedding.
It's easy to get sucked in.
Yeah. It is.
Too. I had a meltdown 6 months in, and I was like, I have to get a planner. I have to get like a month out day of coordinator.
Oh, wow.
I thought I could just do it all myself.
And did you end up doing that?
Yeah, and they were a lifesaver.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And knowing like what your limits are, you know, knowing what I think going back, I would probably have a little bit more limits on like, I'm going to just design my dress. Like I didn't really have to do that. And, you know, I kind of have a little bit of like, I could have let go.
You're talking about this DIYing.
Yes.
It's easy to do because she's like, I could just save all this money. But some people you got lucky. It doesn't sound like you end up having to like waste, quote unquote, a lot of money because you were able to do what you set out to do. Yeah. But there are a lot of couples that don't have that. They get really adventurous with their DIYing and they end up spending and wasting so much money that they could have saved by having just bought the item or hiring a professional. And that's the delicate balance. You have to know yourself.